Braves country.
Good morning. Actually, good afternoon, Braves country. Coming to you from about an hour before first pitch. The Braves this afternoon, late this afternoon, 5 p.m. Eastern, will take on the Washington Nationals in Atlanta. And 5:10 first pitch, if we want to be exact. Atlanta rained out 2 of 3 games in New York this weekend. So they only got the one game played on Saturday in which Atlanta loses. Ian Anderson just did not play a good game, did not pitch a great game. And to make matters worse, Atlanta did not get the ball in play much against Taijuan Walker, which we were afraid could be the case. We knew that a high-scoring game from either side was going to be hard for the other to keep up with if the opposing pitcher did his job, and Taijuan Walker did his job. Ian Anderson had a bit of a rough outing, so we move on from that. And if you look at the standings right now in the NL East, the Braves are still in second place. They are 3.5 games behind the Mets. They are a half game in front of Philadelphia, which Philadelphia right now, as I'm recording this, is losing to Cincinnati. So there's a good chance that the Braves are going to gain a half game before the game starts tonight. And then the Marlins are 4.5 back from the Mets, and the Nationals are 6 back. Now, that's the bad news. The good news is the New York Mets are about to go on a bit of a road trip. They begin tonight in Arizona. And though Arizona is playing bad baseball at this point in the season, you still have to look at the fact that playing out on the West Coast usually is a tough deal for any East Coast team, no matter who the opponent is. So they're going to begin a 3-game series in Arizona and then a 4-game series in San Diego before coming back east and finishing up a 2-game series at Baltimore. So all in all, it's going to be a 9-game road series or road trip for the Atlanta Braves. So Atlanta's got a chance to possibly cut into that Mets lead. Now, of course, we got the bad news about Marcell Ozuna this weekend. For people that may have missed that, the short of it is he was arrested on domestic violence. Details are still coming out. So I'm not going to jump to conclusions on what the Braves should do. Going to kind of let that lay out a little bit. But it's definitely not a good look going in. And when you see the big picture of it, it's pretty troublesome no matter what really went down at Ozuna's place, that he was involved in domestic violence against his wife. And then, of course, last year, she was charged with a domestic violence call that Ozuna has eventually dropped. So there's definitely some unstableness going on in that home, and you just hope for the best from a humanitarian standpoint, not worry about baseball. But this show, we talk about baseball, so we're going to move on. And as things come out about Ozuna, we'll react to them then. I just don't see the point of beating the dead horse. Everybody knows it was a terrible act of what Ozuna did, and we'll just leave it at that. Moving forward, the Atlanta Braves did make a move today, and they are bringing up who I was been talking about this recently and was hoping we would see him. They are bringing up Abraham Almonte. And Abraham Almonte is going to be coming up. And not only is he coming up, so the Braves bring him up and move him to the 40-man roster. To be able to do that, what they did was they moved Huascar Ynoa to the 60-day DL to make room for the 40-man roster. So you can do that for people who aren't aware of what the capabilities and possibilities of the 40-man roster. You always hear it talked about. You can move someone from the 40-man roster if he goes on the 60-day IL. If he's on the 10-day IL, totally different story. So that's why you'll see teams move him. All right. So what does that do? That puts Almonte on the 40-man roster, and you'll kind of go from there. When it comes time for Ynoa to come back, they will make that decision as it goes on what move they might make down the road. But that's so far down the road, and you hope for good health. But we all have known that this has been a year like no other for Atlanta, with the injuries that are mounting, that are continuing, and they will put Abraham Almonte, who is, by the way, he's been hitting .403 in his last 62 at bats at AAA Gwinnett. So that's one of the reasons why they brought him up with a 1.167 OPS. Now, he is a guy, if you look at Almonte's career, he is not a home run hitter, okay? He's got 18 total home runs in his career in 376 games. So you're talking about averaging best case scenario 6-7 home runs a year, essentially. What are you getting from him? Well, they're expecting him to be able to get on base, and he does have some stolen bases in his career. He does have 25. It's not lighting up the base paths, but it is at least a threat when he gets on the base paths. So what they're looking for is to hopefully extend that lineup and get a little more hitting, get the ball in play. And so you're looking at the lineup right now to my right, and what we're seeing with the batting order today, Almonte's going to hit sixth behind Dansby Swanson, and we'll just see how it goes. Heredia is starting again in center. He's obviously not the defensive standout that Inciarte is, but he is a better bat. So you kind of take the good with the bad. Now, it's not like Heredia is an Achilles heel out there in center field, but what he brings to the plate, I think you're usually going to want to lean on him at the beginning. And I said this before. This was before all the injury and the other issues that OZUNA came with, was that I felt like it wouldn't be a bad idea that Heredia start most games, and then you get the lead. You bring in Ciarte in to play center. So we'll see how they use this platoon system. Almonte is going to hit sixth. We hope that he can basically move the batting order. As I always like to do, this number right here, move the batting order, move it around, and get on base, kind of set the table. It surprises me a little bit that he's sitting in sixth, because normally the number 6 guy, you want him to be the RBI guy, a guy that can continue the threat. I was a little surprised that they did not put Almonte in either the 7th spot behind Contreras, or even drop him down below Heredia. I still say, to make this roster, to make this batting order more viable, Freddie Freeman's got to come down to the 3-hole, and they've got to put either Heredia up at 2, or we'll see what Almonte's game is this year. Almonte may be the 2 guy, but I think you need to bust up Acuna and Freeman, because if Acuna doesn't hit a home run, if he gets on base any other way, whether it's a single, a walk, a double, you want the next guy up to be able to move him over into scoring position. And that's where I think Heredia would have excelled at. and then you bring down Freeman, so you still have to face him that first inning, but then hopefully there's at least one runner on base. I still say Ozzy is up too high. Ozzy should be hitting behind Riley. Riley should be hitting in front of Ozzy, right behind Freeman. I don't know what they're waiting on. Riley has been roasting the ball. You see the batting average over there. He's you don't see it on yours, on my end. He's now up to 313, absolutely scalding the baseball. There's no reason why 235 hitting Ozzy Albies should be hitting in front of Riley. And then the Swanson thing, like I said, I think he's a number 5, number 6 hitter, however you want to put him. Anyways, that will be the batting order today. Acuna, Freeman, Albies, Riley, Swanson, Almonte, Contreras, Heredia, and Charlie Morton gets the start today, not Max Fried. Max Fried gets pushed back even one more day because of the rain out yesterday. Remember, originally Fried was supposed to pitch on Saturday. When the rain out took effect on Friday, it moved Fried to Sunday. Morton was moved to Monday. After last night's rain out, what they decided to do was keep Morton where he was because he was preparing to pitch today. Get him out there and then give Fried one extra day of rest. And Morton takes the mound. I expect him to pitch well. He's going up against Joe Ross, who has a 5.19 ERA. Joe Ross does have the ability to pitch a good game, but the Braves have tended to hit him pretty well. So I expect a good game from Atlanta today, and I'm really excited to see what Almonte can do. This could be the beginning of something really good in the Atlanta offense. You could also see this as they might be buying time before they bring up other players, or they hit the trade market, and if they're still in the hunt in late July, would they bring on an outfielder that is on a team that may be struggling, maybe giving up on the playoffs? We can get into that down the road. I've got some ideas in my head where I think they could go, but I think we need to get a little closer to July before we really started entertaining these thoughts. But there's a lot of outfielders out there that will be available. So although you hate to see OZUNA go by the wayside, it's not as crippling as it could have been. The big thing is they got to get Freddie going, and they've got to get Acuna going. And I really wish Snecker would play with that top of the batting order and do some things with it, because I really feel like at this point, Ozzy Albies hitting 235, Freddie Freeman hitting 239. They do not belong 2-3 back-to-back in the top of the lineup. Yeah, the talent is there, but when Ozzy's batting a lefty like he's doing today, he's not that dangerous. And they know it. If you're hellbound and determined that Freddie Freeman has got to stay at the number 2 spot, then move Riley up to the 3 spot. Put Ozzy down at 4. But it's the problem with having Ozzy and Freddie back to back in the lineup. The biggest problem that I have with it is both of them like to swing very early in the counts. And you can get a first inning along with Acuna. You can get a first inning where the starting pitcher's only thrown 4 pitches and he's out of the inning. Now, I don't ever want to put the restraints on Freddie or put the restraints on Acuna. So I'm not saying that they need to work the count constantly, because they have rare talent, and you've got to let them be them. But that doesn't mean you got to bat them back to back to back. It means you know who is the patient hitter, and you know who goes in there sitting dead red and will swing. There are at bats. There was one over the weekend with Freddie against Walker where he struck out and the ball was like as his eyeballs. And what that told me was he made up his mind before that ball ever left the pitcher's hand that he was swinging. Freddie Freeman's going to go to the Hall of Fame. So who am I to complain and say, oh, well, he's, this and that, and let's break up Freddie's swing? No. But what I'm saying is you've got too many guys that like to swing early, hitting up at the top of the order and hitting back to back. You've got to break that up. You've got to make these starting pitchers work. Because you don't want these games to turn into where you're constantly facing the starting pitcher for 6-7 innings, and then every series you're only getting to see every team's setup guy and closer. You're not going to win many games that way. Washington is a perfect example. Today, they've got Ross, and if they can get to him and they can get going and they can get the counts in their favor and get into the bullpen, it can make for a much nicer series as you're going to face Strasburg tomorrow. On Wednesday, we're not sure who Washington is going to put out there. They have not announced, but Corbin is going on Thursday. So it's a 4-game series. If you can start getting into their bullpen, you can win this series. You can win 3 of 4. That's what I'm hoping for. We all would love to see a sweep. But winning 3 out of 4 at home against a Washington team that's not playing very well, I don't think that that's out of I don't believe that is too much to ask for, right? So anyways, we've hit the time. I didn't hear the buzzer go off, but evidently it did. So I'm going to go ahead and wrap this up. We'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow, the Braves will be playing at 7:20. So we'll get we'll probably get this one to you a little earlier in the day. But I held off today because I wanted to get as close to first pitch as possible with it being a late afternoon game. All right, have a great day. Go Braves. And we'd also like to thank veterans, the fallen heroes. We can never say this enough on how much we appreciate and admire the men and women that serve this great nation. Memorial Day is definitely a day that you want to remember the fallen, the ones that gave all so we could do what we do every day in America. Have a great one, y'all. And go Braves. We really need a win. And while we're at it, if you're up late tonight, go Diamondbacks. We got to get some W's on our end and some L's on their end. We'll see you.
You're in Braves country.